Wakanda Forever, they need to call the movie Wakanda Forever because it doesn't have the Black Panther in it. What the fuck are you doing, Kevin Feige? How the fuck you make a Black Panther movie without the Black Panther? You sit there, you say you're making a Black Panther 2, and you don't have no Black Panther in it? How you call it a Black Panther movie without the Black Panther? Well, people want to see me, and they want to see my glorious booty. That's what they want to see in these briefs. You know what people really want to see anymore? They want to see me put my foot square dead on your ass like this. Get the fuck out of here. You know what, Kevin Feige? I'm tired of your bullshit. You sit there and talk about you want to make a Black Panther sequel, and there ain't got no Black Panther in it. You were really insulting black people with this. I told you people, you should not have made this movie. You should not have made it. You should not have made it.
Now available on Kickstarter, John Haynes at Death's Door. The man who rules the world takes on the Greek god of death in this all-new Kickstarter exclusive John Haynes comic book. Put in your pledge and get the standard, variant, or retro covers of John Haynes at Death's Door and other great stretch goal rewards on Kickstarter today. I got a chance to take a look at the trailer for Black Panther: Wakanda Forever after one of my viewers sent me an email telling me that the trailer was on YouTube. And after watching the trailer for Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, I was extremely pissed off at what I saw. Now, what I saw in the trailer for Black Panther: Wakanda Forever was a series of sequences that didn't seem to have any purpose at all. Now, the big problem with Black Panther: Wakanda Forever is that it does not answer two critical questions every screenwriter like myself has to answer before we put fingers to the keyboard. And those two questions are, who is the main character? And more importantly, why should we care? Now, the big problem that your Black Panther: Wakanda Forever has is that it does not seem to have a main character. The main character, T'Challa, who was played by Chadwick Boseman, doesn't seem to be in his own movie, and according to a sequence in the trailer, it looks like the main character, T'Challa, has passed away. Now, that's due to the fact that the actor who played the Black Panther, Chadwick Boseman, passed away from colon cancer about a year ago, and sadly, I'm sorry for his loss, and his passing should have been the reason that Disney canceled this movie, because without Chadwick Boseman, you couldn't make a Black Panther movie. But I also see from a story point the other question, which is why should we care? Because when it comes down to the T'Challa character, there really wasn't much reason to care as related to continuing his story, because as I see it, your T'Challa's story wound up ending in Avengers Endgame, and that's where your Marvel Studios should have put a period at things, because there was no reason to continue his story as related to Phase 4, because the only reason why we got a Black Panther sequel was because Marvel Studios saw the success of Black Panther in spite of their attempts to sabotage the film. Now, your Marvel Studios, as I see it, has been trying to sabotage the Black Panther character ever since they greenlit the character for production. That's the reason why they gave your Black Panther a February release, a time when movies usually are set up to fail. However, the Black Panthers became a worldwide phenomenon in 2018 and went on to have a blockbuster opening weekend, and then went on to become the #1 film for 2018 and wound up selling out as related to merchandise for all of 2018. And with all of that success, your Marvel Studios and your Disney were reluctantly forced to go out here and greenlight a sequel, because they saw the incredible success of Black Panther, and then they decided to reluctantly go out here and launch a Black Panther 2. Now, your Disney, as I see it behind the scenes, has been trying to go out here and sabotage the Black Panther franchise ever since the beginning because they don't want to see the burgeoning black fantasy and comic book and science fiction market gain any traction. No, the main focus that they want people focused on are the white characters in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and they don't want white children going out here and looking up to a character like the Black Panther. So they have been working feverishly behind the scenes to try to go out here and sabotage the second Black Panther movie and take all the traction out of the growing black fantasy, black comic book, and black science fiction market. And this was shown with your Agent DuVernay's Wrinkle in Time and other efforts to try to even sabotage this Black Panther movie. Because passively, yes, they greenlit a Black Panther movie for Phase 4. However, that Black Panther Wakanda Forever movie doesn't really seem to flow organically into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And it doesn't really seem, they really didn't seem to have a place for that movie in Phase 4, and they just languished and left it to the end. And it looks like when they put it to the end, they put the absolute worst movie at the end of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and they wanted to go out here and end the Phase 4 on an absolute whimper. That's the only reason why we got this whole Wakanda Forever, as I call it, because the only reason why it's here is just because they greenlit this movie and they just made it for the sake of making it. I mean, when I look at your Black Panther Wakanda Forever, it, like Thor Love and Thunder, is not a movie made with a purpose. It is not a movie made to flow organically into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's just basically like Halle Berry's 2004 Catwoman, a way for the studio to go out here and pay all of the people behind the scenes, the producers, and a way to just be a cash grab for all of those fans of the MCU. It doesn't really serve any sort of purpose as related to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and it's just there to be there, just like Thor Love and Thunder was just there to be there. And when I look at this Black Panther Wakanda Forever, it's just looking like an absolutely whack movie that is just made for the sake of being made, and it doesn't further develop any real stories. It's just there to basically be filler for the next Marvel Cinematic Universe movie. Now, that's really disappointing because your Ryan Coogler did create a very fascinating world with the first Black Panther, a world that was filled with very interesting characters like T'Challa, M'Baku, Shuri, and we got a nice look at some Afrofuturism and some beautiful design work as related to costumes and wardrobe. We got some very beautiful visuals and some great storytelling, but when it came down to this Wakanda Forever, we get absolutely nothing as related to anything like we got with the original film. We get a bunch of really bland, generic visuals, and we get a lot of just stuff that just doesn't make you care. I mean, I was very indifferent with your Wakanda fail ever, and one of the things that really irritated me about this film was the fact that they have practically not only erased T'Challa, the lead character, they have erased all of the men from this film. Now, the original Black Panther did have a strong male lead, and it had strong male supporting characters like M'Baku and your Killmonger, but this film is just something made for the ladies, and this is one of the things that irritates me about your Black Panther Wakanda fail ever, is that this film has absolutely no black men in it, but you've got the Black Panther's name attached to it, but the Black Panther
isn't in the film. There are no men in the film, and we get to see no positive images of black manhood or black masculinity, something that was marginalized in the original Black Panther. And we only got to see a little bit of T'Challa in Black Panther, and we get nothing but females in this film. What's really disappointing to me is that the only place where we got to see T'Challa, the Black Panther, be the Black Panther was in the movie Captain America Civil War. That's really disappointing when you really think about it. The only movie where you got to see the Black Panther be the man that he is in the movie Captain America Civil War. So you're telling me the only place a black man could be a black man was in a movie with the white man's name on the title. That's some bullshit as I see it when it comes down to the Marvel Studios. Here you have a movie with the Black Panther's name on it, and he's not even in his own film. And you've got all of these females being the lead, and these females, as they are being the lead, they are promoting old racist stereotypes about black men. And what they're passively saying as they're talking about the passing of T'Challa is that the black man isn't there, and that the black woman has to take the lead because the black man isn't there. That's an old stereotype that racists use about black men, but they do this because they don't want to create strong positive images of black men in their media. No, they don't. They want to erase the black man. Then they want to go out here and push the gynocentric narrative that the black woman has nobody there to be out here and lead her community. This is the kind of commentary that is being pushed in Wakanda Forever. Here you have a movie about a black man, but the black man is erased from his own film, and that's showing how your white supremacy is creeping in to your Marvel Studios. Because if you have no Black Panther in his own movie, and you're sitting there pushing the women as the lead, and as you push the woman as the lead in a movie with a black man's name on it, you then create this handsome hunky Namor, and you have him be the main antagonist. And this main antagonist and this whole story model is very similar to what we're seeing in Sony's upcoming film, The Woman King. And when I look at the Namor character, it's looking like, to me, they're going to be pushing him, and they're probably going to be pushing some narrative where he's swirling it up with some Wakandan. And this is part of the conflict between Atlantis and Wakanda. And they're going to be pushing the whole idea that here is this big, strong man from another race who can protect his own people, and that the strong, independent black woman, she has to be masculine and like a man, similar to what we see being pushed in movies like The Woman King, and recently pushed in your Thor Love and Thunder, where your Valkyrie was pushed as the masculine black woman, and was also pushed in the movie Harriet. Now, when I look at your Black Panther Wakanda Forever, it's looking to me like this film is turning it from being a Black Panther movie into Harriet 3.0. Now, the original Harriet movie took the history of Harriet Tubman and turned it into a swirler's fantasy, and your Woman King, Harriet 2.0, turned your Dahomey women into another swirler's fantasy, and basically was looking to masculinize the black woman and then have her pining and deifying the white man like she was in Harriet. And it's looking to me like Black Panther Wakanda Forever is following the same pattern. And all of these films, what they want to do is they want to minimize the black man, and they want to elevate the black woman, but they elevate the black woman passively while aggressively masculinizing her. So this is another one of those films, again, looking to put the black woman in the
black man's role and emasculate and neuter the black men in the community. So I'm looking at this Black Panther Wakanda fail ever, and I'm not seeing a film like the 2018 Black Panther, which, for all of its flaws of being too gynocentric, at least gave us a hero. But now that the Chadwick Boseman has passed away, they go out here and further look to push the agenda of emasculating black men, marginalizing and minimizing the black male image, and taking away a character who was a strong black male hero, and then putting the woman in his place, saying that the black man cannot go out here and lead his own community, protect his own community from invaders. And it's looking like to me that they're setting up the Submariner to be the so-called invader that the black females go out here and deify and worship, and then go out here looking to mix it and swirl it up with. And that's what it's looking like to me with that they're trying to do with the Submariner. Now, this Submariner don't look like no Submariner I ever read in a comic, and they're trying to say that they wanted to make an Aztec Submariner, but that's where your Marvel Studios basically falls off the rails and heads into the place that your Salkins did in the 80s with Superman, and where the late Joel Schumacher fell into with Batman in the 90s. Now, back in the 80s, the Superman franchise fell off the rails because your Salkins started to want to put their own ideas into the movies of Superman, and they took us from the action and adventure we got in Superman 78 and your Superman 2 in 1980, I believe, and that same thing happened with Joel Schumacher. What they wanted to do was take us off the road of the action that we got in Batman and Batman Returns, and they wanted to try to feature more comedy, and they wanted to feature more elements that were not in the comics. And that's what it's looking like to me with your Aztec Namor. He's looking like a deviation that comes straight out of the Salkins and Joel Schumacher's playbook, and it shows me how more and more Marvel is getting out of touch, because when the Marvel Cinematic Universe first started with Iron Man in 2008, we got a film that was practically close to the source material, and many sequences came straight out of a Bob Layton, John Romita Jr. comic book. We got a movie that was true to the comics, but when I look at these later Phase 4 movies, I'm seeing where your Kevin Feige is getting too comfortable with the material. I see where he's trying to make deviations from the material, and this is showing with movies like Thor: Love and Thunder, and your Black Panther Wakanda fail ever is making these kinds of deviations, and it's these kind of deviations that alienate most of the comic fans and the kids who go view these movies, because when you start making these crazy deviations, they start turning people off, because that Namor that they did, it's just too over the top, and it just looks absolutely ridiculous. You don't need to deviate so far from the character. All you need to do is stay as close to the source material, because that's how you make money. But Marvel Studios, again, is taking many of their customers for granted. They believe that you'll be there for these movies, just like Pixar got cocky and thought people would just run back out for Lightyear. They're making the exact same mistake with this Black Panther Wakanda fail ever. They're sitting there thinking that they can take the audience for granted. They're thinking, oh, these black customers will still continue to come back and see these movies and not care about the quality as related to being true to the source material. And that's a big mistake I see your Marvel Studios making as related to these films, because the core customer were black men like myself, and when we don't see ourselves in the movie, we have no reason to go out here and spend money on a movie that we're not in. It was bad enough that we got T'Challa marginalized in his own movie, and that really frustrated a lot of black men like myself, not seeing T'Challa in the movie, and now you want to try to put the black woman in the black man's place, and that's a big insult thrown at all of those black male comic fans, black male sci-fi fans, black male fantasy fans who went out here and spent money like I did on this Black Panther movie and spent money on Marvel Legends and other merchandise. It's an insult to us where you take the black man out the movie, but you want the black man's dollars. And this is why it is important for black people to go out here and support black creators like myself, and black men need to support black creators like myself, because when I go out here and I do the John Haynes character, I'm trying to go out here and provide black readers with an image of a strong black man who presents an image of black masculinity, an image of black manhood, and shows you an example of a black man in a leadership position who wields power. This is something that Marvel Studios doesn't want black viewers to see, and they don't want young black children to be inspired by a black man to be a leader. They don't want you to see a black man as a head. They don't want you to see a black man having power. So for this second movie, they have basically erased the black man, and they've replaced him with black feminist girl power. So your Black Panther Wakanda fail ever is just a black feminist film, and that's why I'm just absolutely pissed off with this movie, because it's looking like they're trying to push a narrative to masculinize our sisters and promote a false narrative of empowerment. And this is looking like, again, a plan to try to socially engineer the masculinization of the black woman. And I'm absolutely disgusted at the fact that they're pushing this in a movie that's directed at children, because this type of narrative is detrimental to young black boys and young black girls' growth, because young black boys need to see a positive image of black manhood and black masculinity. And if we can't get that from your Marvel Studios, then most black people really need to start putting their money towards media like I produce on the SJS Direct imprint, like the John Haynes Kickstarter, and support myself and other independent black comic creators, because it's clear we can't get a positive image of a black man from your Marvel Studios. Now, some would sit here and say that they should have recast the role of T'Challa, but I doubt recasting the role of T'Challa would have led to any changes as related to Marvel Studios, because they marginalized T'Challa with Chadwick Boseman in the role, and I believe Wakanda Fail Ever would have been the premise for the movie, even if Chadwick Boseman was alive. I believe Marvel Studios would have gone out of its way to further marginalize black men, and that's why I'm just absolutely pissed off at this film, because here was an opportunity to give us a positive, strong image of a black man being a leader, and instead of them going out here and just letting the legacy of Chadwick Boseman and the Black Panther character end with the Black Panther movie and Avengers Endgame, they decided to start a brand new story where they pushed these black feminist narratives. And these black feminist narratives are basically anti-black racism, because all they want to do is push the narrative that the black man is incapable of leading, the black man is incapable of maintaining his family. These are the stereotypes that they're pushing with this movie. And again, your Black Panther Wakanda Fail Ever is no different than your Harriet or your Woman King. And this is not the type of movie I have any interest in going out and seeing. Now, if you want to put in a pledge for my Kickstarter for my comic for John Haynes at Death's Door, you have about 12 days to put in your pledge and pick up the first John Haynes comic and read a story which features a positive image of a black man and shows you a positive image of black manhood and black masculinity. So you have 12 days to put in your pledge and pick up a copy of John Haynes at Death's Door, and you can put in your pledge by clicking the link to the Kickstarter in the description box. And if you want to read more stories featuring John Haynes and see a positive image of black manhood and black masculinity, you may do so by clicking the link to Amazon.com, where you can pick up all of the John Haynes series books in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find John Haynes books on Smashwords, the iBookstore, and Google Play. And if you want to see me make more videos like this, you can donate to my Patreon, my PayPal, or my Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.
You want to know what's really fucked up about the Marvel Cinematic Universe? The only Black Panther movie we ever got was called Captain America Civil War. That is some bullshit right there. Bullshit, I tell you. Bullshit!
Now available in paperback and e-readers, The Temptation of John Haynes. Given to temptation, pick up this action-packed African-American paranormal romance. Get The Temptation of John Haynes in paperback and e-readers today.